The Killing Sea, Chapter 29. Ruslan and Sarah rode in the back of a military truck heading for Ujunkaran. He had asked for a lift because Sarah wanted to see his house, which by God's grace and strong construction had not been flattened by the tsunami. His father was at the mayor's office, registering Ruslan's name on the survivor roll, and couldn't come. Sarah kept toying with the gold ring on a chain around her neck. "My mother's wedding ring," she said. She bit her lip and released it. The journalist asked what it was like to bury my own mother. What could I tell them? It was just hard work. I can't feel anything for her. Except, this blank nothing. I know she didn't really love me like she loved Peter, but she was my mother. She did her best, I know. Why can't I feel? Am I a monster? Ruslan firmly shook his head. No, don't think like that. It scares me. It makes me wonder what kind of person I am. You don't have to worry about that, Sarah. I know because I know you. She gave him a quick smile but said nothing. The truck drove down the main boulevard, the only street that had been cleared, and stopped by the town stadium. Ruslan helped Sarah down from the back of the truck and led her across dry mud to his house. I couldn't believe it when I first saw it, he said. Even now, on his second visit, there was something shocking about the building's naked appearance, standing alone amidst the ruins of the neighborhood. What's funny is, I ran and ran from the tsunami and nearly drowned anyway, but if I just climbed to the roof, I would have been okay. But you didn't know. No, I didn't. He looked out over the distant point. A half a dozen people were picking through the remains of their homes. So many people didn't know anything. Can I look inside? Sure, but everything's ruined. Who cares when you have your father back? He didn't reply. The house was nothing, less than nothing, not even the same universe compared to that. I'm so happy for you, Ruslan. He heard the truth of that in her voice and saw it too, her happiness rising in her wide smile and in her blue eyes. This when she still had her own father missing. You'll find him, he said. They might have found him already. You sure you don't want to go back to the boat? No. She took his hand, her long fingers curling around his, the warmth of her soft palm spreading all through him. She held his hand for 3 heartbeats, 4, and then squeezed and let go. I want to have a look inside. A foot of drying black mud covered the floor of the front parlor, and the walls and ceiling were badly discolored. A strong mildew odor rose from the damp sofa. Magazines and books lay scattered about, their pages pasted together. The only undamaged item on the coffee table was the notebook from the helicopter, open to the drawing of his father. She glanced at it and blurted, "But what if my dad's dead?" How he wished she could give her some of his own father to reassure her. Don't give up hope, Sarah. It's getting to be like this washing machine. Hope, dread, it's all I can feel. That's how I felt too. She gave him a smile. You're right. Don't give up hope, ever. Hey, where's your room? Upstairs. She climbed the stairs ahead of him. The doors to the 3 rooms on the second floor were closed. At the top landing, she said, You stay here. I want to guess which room is yours. She walked down the short hall and stopped in front of the 3rd door. This is your room. Has the best light for drawing and painting. He grinned. That's right. She opened the door. He belatedly realized something and rushed to intercept her, but was too late. She'd spotted his drawing of her, still taped to the wall, tinted by brown water, but the smudged blue of her eyes and the pink of her lips still visible. She stood before it, her head tilted a little as she studied it. He wanted to vanish. That was when you first stopped in Malabo, when your boat engine was broken. I'd never drawn a Westerner. Do I really look like that? Disappointment shot through his embarrassment. You don't like it? No, I like it a lot, but you've made me, I don't know, more mysterious than I am. You were mysterious. I didn't know you. You made me prettier, too. The artist in Ruslan said with sure confidence, That's you, just as you are. She nodded at the poster of Siti Nuraliza. Am I prettier than her? Ruslan was about to gallantly say yes when he paused. His blood sloshed back and forth, and he knew that the truth was far more important than flattery. No, because she's not you. Sarah turned to him. He was afraid she could hear his pounding heart. She slipped into his arms and pressed her head against his shoulder. I don't think Peter and me would have made it if it hadn't been for you, she said. Thank you. You're welcome. What a silly thing to say. Couldn't she feel the way his heart was stampeding all over the place? She drew away a little and looked at him. Anybody ever tell you that you have beautiful eyes? She murmured. He kissed her then. How could he not? It was as easy as falling. When they finally broke apart, she rested her forehead against his. You remember what my dad looked like? His nose was a little Bangkok bended to the right. This way. Ruslan pressed his finger to his own nose. She drew back and smiled. Broke it in college, an amateur boxing match. He said he'd always get it fixed, but my mom said, Don't you dare, I love your nose. Her smile became a laugh. He'd say, You love me for my nose? And she'd say, absolutely. I fell in love with your nose and I married your nose, and if you change it, I'm going to have to divorce it. You know, a lot of my friends' parents divorced, but I was lucky. I really was. Her laughter died. Do you think you can draw a picture of him for good luck, like with your father? Instead of using the notebook downstairs, he picked up the sketch pad on his desk, the top page already dry from the sunlight, and he began to draw. Sarah leaned against the windowsill watching him. She'd be leaving him soon, she knew. They could make promises about staying in touch and all that, but life didn't work that way. Soon, all he'd be was a memory. She wanted to remember this moment for the rest of her life. How he looked, his mussed-up hair, the way the corner of his lips twisted in concentration, the focused look of those gorgeous eyes. Ruslan remembered to the last wrinkle the face of Sarah's father, but an artist draws the truth of what he sees, and now, after the tsunami, he was seeing more clearly than he had ever been seen before. The truth that he needed to distill for Sarah's sake guided his hand. It didn't take long. He had never created anything more true and certain in his life. Sarah took the sketch that he quietly handed to her. Thanks, she said, then lost all her words. The sketch wasn't of her father. It was her mother. In the simple, graceful lines of her gentle, smiling face, and the eyes that looked right into her, Sarah saw all the love that her mother had always had for her, and how absolutely, utterly wrong she'd been to ever have doubted it. Something gave way within her, and the raw waters of grief came rushing in.